Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of For Pete's Take. I'm Joey Peterson, and today I'm going to talk about three things that we learned from this Penn State versus Ohio State game. Three things from a great game from the weekend, probably the best game of the weekend. Let's talk about three things that we as fans of this sport of college football learned from this weekend. I think the first is that JT, and I'm going to butcher his last name. I literally have the pronunciation right here on my computer. JT Tuimololau, and I'm just going to call him JTT from here on to spare you guys, spare myself. JTT is a dog. An absolute dog. He's a guy who going into this game had 1 sack and 7 tackles. 1 sack and 7 tackles, and he absolutely took this game over. He won it for them. Straight up. If you guys are like me, I'm watching this game thinking, who is this kid? Expecting when I looked his stats up, expecting him to have 45 tackles, 4 sacks this year. No. 7 tackles, 1 sack for the year. And he totally dominated this game. End of the day, with 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 picks, a forced fumble, and a touchdown. Unreal. He's a sophomore, and he's proven that he's going to be a big guy in this defense for the rest of this year, and he's going to be a big guy in this defense for the years to come. He's the reason that they won this game. I can't reiterate that enough, and I need to stop reiterating it because I'm sure you guys all agree with me if you watch this game. He was dominant. He made play after play after play. Penn State turned the ball over 4 times. He was responsible for 3 of them. And he scored a touchdown to seal the game at the end of the game. What a performance from JTT. I bet that this elevates his play, and I bet you just add another dog to that Ohio State defense. It was the best defensive game I've seen from a player in the country all season long. No doubt. And the second thing I think we learned is that Ohio State is beatable. I'm a guy who last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 days ago, would have said that they're the best team in the country and probably would have said they're the most unbeatable team in the country. And I think Penn State proved that this Ohio State team is beatable. Now, they might still be the best team in the country. I don't know this. You don't know this. We won't know this until they consistently play better talent. But they did prove that they're beatable. They got outplayed in almost every statistic. Penn State had more total yards. Penn State had more passing yards, more rushing yards, more first downs, and held the time of possession longer. Their defense proved that it's vulnerable in the pass defense. A vulnerability we really hadn't seen all season long, but they proved that. And if it weren't for the 4 takeaways, they wouldn't have won this game. But they did have 4 takeaways. We can't just gloss that over. Oh, if it wasn't for 4 takeaways, they would. No, they had 4 takeaways, and they proved they're a defensive team that can force turnovers, because they did. And they won their game because of it. But they are a team that I think has proven that they're beatable, that they're human. A team that I thought 3 days ago could beat any team in the country is now a team that I can think of 4 or 5 teams that would put up a awesome dogfight against the Buckeyes. Hopefully we'll get to see some of those matchups later on in the year. I know one that we will definitely see later on in the year, because this is my third point of the night. And I think the third thing that we realize is Michigan might be really good. Michigan beat Penn State 41-17. Now, I know that game was in Ann Arbor, which is an awesome atmosphere. And I know when Ohio State went to Penn State, Beaver Stadium was packed. It was rocking all game long. So different atmospheres that it was played in. It's easier to beat a team at home, 100%, especially when you have a home field like Michigan does. But Michigan stomped Penn State. I said it last week. They ran for over 400 yards against Penn State. Maybe they're really, really good. Are they? I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this game for Michigan. But when you just look at total scores, and you just look at how this last game played out and how easily Michigan handled Penn State, maybe they're really, really good. Now, they won't get tested this week. They play Rutgers. They won't get tested the week after that. They play Nebraska. The week after that, they'll play Illinois, which will kind of be a test. But all eyes are turned to that November game, last game of the year against Ohio State. I am stoked for that game. I bet you guys are stoked for that game. It's going to be an awesome game. And we're going to see if this Michigan team is all I'm making them up to be just from the result of this last weekend. We're going to see. Now, their quarterback situation, easily, without a doubt, the worst of all the teams in the top four. If you look at the teams in the top four, Tennessee might have a Heisman winner. Ohio State might have a Heisman winner. Georgia, Stetson Bennett, pretty dang good. And then you look at Michigan. They've had a weird quarterback situation all season long. And I think it could come back to bite them at the end of the year. But their run offense is unreal, and their defense is pretty dang good. And maybe the lack of a schedule for the Buckeyes is a bigger deal than I made it out to be. Now, again, you can only play who's on your schedule. So I don't think they should be faulted as much for their lack of schedule. But I think when you don't play great teams all year long, when you do play a competent team, like we just saw against Penn State, it rattles you a little bit. Now, they won't really play a competent team again until they play Michigan. So maybe we're seeing this lack of a schedule hurt them more than we think it actually is. But at the end of the day, they're still undefeated, and they're still a good team with a really, really good quarterback. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the season plays out for Ohio State. I'm excited to see how the rest of this season plays out for the Big Ten, because that showdown this weekend was so fun to watch, and I just can't wait for that one at the end of November.